Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Stephanie Stevens Show. Today on Pronoun TV and my show, I have the incredible Miss Harmonica Sunbeam from New Jersey. Jersey. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. And today I asked her to be on the show because I think that she's a trailblazer, somebody that's made a real difference within our community. She's been featured in the New York Times and she does lots of radio talk shows and she has something very interesting. We're going to talk about it, the Storybook Hour in public libraries. Who would ever guess a drag performer or a drag queen would be in our public libraries? So today on the show, I want to just welcome Miss Harmonica Sunbeam. How you doing, girl?
Hi, how are you? I'm fine. I'm fine. It's a nice Monday afternoon here in New Jersey, and the weather's not so bad. It's about 40 degrees, so that's doable. You can still run your errands and not feel like, oh, I'm not leaving the house at all. So today is a good day.
Wonderful. Well, you look beautiful.
Thank you.
Now, what I wanted to talk about today was the mere fact that you've been in the thick of it all. Like you're in New Jersey, New York, and you work in all of the clubs and you've done so much for the LGBTQ two-spirit pronoun community in a sense of living real life. I've watched you, so I know that you live in real time and real life. And that's what we were drawn to. When my agent saw you, she says, I want you to put her on the show because I think that she lives real life and she understands the direction you're going in with your career. And you understand that every day that you need to hustle to pay the rent or your mortgage or whatever.
Mhm.
Now, where are you actually from?
I'm from New Jersey. I was born in Newark, New Jersey, and I've been in New Jersey all of my life, living wise. And I enjoy it. I like New Jersey. It's
Okay,
great. It's a great place to call home.
what's the scene like in Jersey? Not just the gay scene. What's the scene like for a black drag queen living in Jersey?
Well, I live in Jersey City, and Jersey City is very close to New York. I can get to New York in about 15 minutes, you know.
Okay.
So the good thing about living in Jersey City is that we are so close to New York that I can work in New York places as well as Jersey places. They earlier in the years there weren't a lot of opportunities in New Jersey, in Jersey City, and so I created some. I started, and so now I'm happy to say that we have two clubs and a gay bar in Jersey City. But when I first moved here years ago, that wasn't the case at all. And so I had to be the one who acted as a promoter and did different events at different places to make some things happen and stuff. But I got started in Newark, New Jersey, at a bar called First Choice, which is no longer with us. It's now Ecuadorian bakery or something. um, and Jersey is great, but Jersey is a little bit spread out. You might have a place here and then a place further down and in another area and stuff. And at one point we had quite a few places to go to, and now not so much. But we make it work.
Okay. Now, can you make a living? Can you make a living doing what you're doing right now?
It really depends. Yes, you can, but you have to have a name for yourself first. I don't necessarily work in a lot of clubs these days.
Mhm.
Even before the pandemic, before the pandemic happened, I was only actually working in a club on a regular basis. I had a monthly gig at a club in River Edge, New Jersey. But other than that, a lot of my stuff is from private parties and events and things of that nature, and from Drag Queen Story Hour, which we can talk about later. But that's where but there are people who work in the clubs and they work like, 4, 5, 6 nights a week. And they tend to make a living from it as well too. But you've got to build up a name for yourself to have those opportunities to happen. And you also have to put a reserve because bars and nightclubs come and go, and these jobs come and go, even at the whim of a owner or a manager who says, oh, we're not going to do drag anymore, or we're not going to use you anymore, and so you kind of have to like not put all your eggs in one basket and have enough stuff and spread out where if one place closes, you're not totally out of out of making any money.
Now, I have to ask this question because my agent always puts a big sign on the wall there for me and reminds me. I have to ask you, how do you identify?
Oh, in drag is she and her, and out of drag is him and he. Yes.
Okay. Now, what I like the most about you is for me, it was the accent. I love the accent. And for me to hear Black Americans speak that, because we're so used to the Sopranos or, those guys there from the Goodfellas and all those kind of guys with that real kind of accent. It's really interesting to hear it coming from a drag queen. And so is it okay if I call you drag queen?
Oh yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. I don't really feel that I have an accent, but people do ask where I'm from when they talk to me sometimes for the first time. So okay. I don't know what they hear, but
there's that little twang in there. It's like me. I've been in Toronto 32 years, and they always say they can hear that Southern twang in me. So, it's funny. We never lose where we come from. It's funny. It always carries with us. Now, I want to talk about Stonewall for just a minute.
Okay.
Now, where is that at? I saw that they needed money to keep this legendary place open.
Well, it's located right on Christopher Street in the heart of Greenwich Village. And there were a lot of bars and clubs and stuff that had GoFundMes during the time when everything closed down because it's, the rents in New York are crazy. And if you're not open and making that money, just a small time closing could really throw off your books for a while. And so we were closed for a number of months. So a lot of places set up GoFundMes to help out like some of the employees and things before they were able to get like some sort of unemployment in a sense. So, but yeah, a lot of different places. But yeah, so I felt for all the places, and especially Stonewall, because Stonewall is a landmark, and it's a place that people come to when they come to the village just to see the place, because it's where the riot started, and it's a place that we have to preserve.
Now, the reason I talk about I wanted to talk about that for just a minute is because I used to come to New York a lot when I used to go to the Limelight, and I used to go to other different clubs that really these were huge clubs that made a real big difference in the New York gay life. And I know that you were part of that as well as me, because I'm 60 years old. So, I mean, I'm not saying how old you are, and you don't have to say it because the lady never tells her age. But I have traveled all over this world pretty much, and I've experienced a lot. So I think that I like talking to people that understand and remember our history. Now, I want to talk about something else in New York that kind of concerned me, in a sense of the pride, the pride parade there. When they were having, I think it was last year, when all of the Housewives of Atlanta came out. What was that all about? That controversy there with the Housewives of Atlanta, and they came out in support of the Pride parade, but it ended up being a backlash because it wasn't for the right reason. And I don't know if you heard anything about that.
No, that's all news to me. Okay, so this is 2020, 2019. I think 2019 was World Pride here in New York. I believe it was World Pride, or maybe it was 2018. I'm not sure. I have to look it up. But I don't know anything that was happening with them in a sense. I'm not a big TV kind of like person and stuff, but I didn't even hear anything, outside, like even on Facebook and stuff regarding there being some kind of situation with them.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to, I didn't want to get into it. I just wanted to
Mhm.
just sort of touch on it so people know. I mean, my agent, she put these things up there for me to touch on. So
Mhm.
I'm just touching on certain things that I think we should talk about before we get into the real
Mhm.
story of Harmonica Sunbeam. Now, you are from Jersey, and what about family? With your family and your friends, are you in a relationship right now?
No, I'm not in a relationship. I have a cat. Does that
Oh.
count? my,
So,
my, my, my family's here in New Jersey as well.
now I know that, to be honest, we really look up to you because I do feel like I'm talking to a celebrity. You've done so much in our community and around your own communities, and the fact that I mean, New York City and Jersey are probably not the safest places, like a lot of places around the world, to be doing drag and to be getting on the subway or even in a cab trying to get through that traffic in New York to get to your gigs and all of this stuff, sometimes having to run there because you're scared you're going to be late and you might lose the gig and all these kind of things. How, how do you handle that hustle and bustle of drag in New York, I mean, in Jersey?
Well, I think it's a matter of preparation. A lot of times, I don't drive personally, but I will Uber to some events depending on where they are. Some events I'll go there and I'll get ready there depending on the conditions of the dressing room. All dressing rooms aren't created equal and stuff. So if
Mhm.
it's a place that I can comfortably get dressed at, I will leave the house a little bit earlier and I'll go there and I'll get dressed. But like for stuff that's local here by me, I'll leave the house and I'll be fine. I happen to live in a very open-minded neighborhood. I've never had really any issues and stuff. And as far as like the trains are concerned, it's very rare that I'm on the train in drag. I know that a lot of girls who live in New York, that's how they get to work. And, it shouldn't really be an issue because we are going to work just like everybody else that's on the train. And just because
Mhm.
we dress differently for our work doesn't mean that we should be open to violence or discrimination or hate. We paid our fare just like the person that's sitting next to us.
Mhm.
And what I look like going to work shouldn't be a concern to you.
Mhm.
We should all be focused on getting to work.
Mhm. Well, that was the reason I brought it up, is because my agent, she was going through, we saw a lot of violence on the trains with the girls. We did. We saw a lot of that. So I wanted to bring that up to you as well, because I know that it can be dangerous for us as the LGBT community, or even sometimes when we look realistic or we're just a fetish, these things can be very dangerous for us.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, I'm going to talk about your family for just a minute. Do you talk to your family? Are you close to your mom, your dad, or your
Well, my
brother?
parents are deceased, so I have my sister and a niece and other family members that I, stay in touch with, and
Mhm.
they, support me in my endeavors and occasionally come out to some of my events and stuff. So it's a very, a tight knit group, and of course, this year was the weird year where we don't get to see each other as much, but we do what we can.
Okay. Now, I want to talk about um, the New York Times.
Mhm.
How, first of all, how did they come to you about that? Or did you have an agent or something that the New York Times was interested in your story? How did that come about?
Well, the New York Times story is in regards to Drag Queen Story Hour, and Drag Queen Story Hour was just taking off in New York, and it was kind of like the right place, right time kind of situation. I believe that they were going to cover that event regardless of who was going to be doing it, and it just happened to be me. It also just happened to be my first ever Drag Queen Story Hour reading. So it was it's my first day on the job. I'm already nervous. I have 75 pre-K and kindergarten kids coming from the school that's close to the library. And then they say, oh, and the New York Times is here to interview you. So all the pressure in the world, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, I was lucky enough that interview also reminds me when I started work, and I was also lucky enough to have had the gig and them to interview, because if it was somebody else, they would have just interviewed them as well too. They don't necessarily, it happens, but not as much where they seek us out individually. It's just that this is when the reporter can make it. When are you having another story time? Okay, this is when a reporter can make it. And so whoever happens to be that particular person, then they wind up getting the luck of being interviewed.
Well, I must say, that's amazing. That is the mere fact that the New York Times showed up there, whether it was for you or anybody else, meant that this story book or story hour meant something. It resonated with somebody. It got some bigwig's attention.
Right.
So, like you said, you were nervous your first time. What did the children think when they saw you? I mean, Harmonica Sunbeam is not the total toned down. Sometimes, children think of us as clowns.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, and I know we don't think of that as ourselves. We think, and what did you think the children thought of you? Did they like you?
Oh, they were very engaged, and one thing about, the children, their emotions are real, when they are excited about something, they show their excitement. Sometimes, our audiences, our adult audiences in gay spaces can be a little jaded, and not give you the love and the energy as a performer that we need and deserve. So working with the kids, you always get that wow, and I always say that, if I can get to them through the stories, or get to them through costumes and jewelry and all of that stuff, there's different people appeal to different things, and you want to be able to have them engaged in one way or another, even if there was a kid in the audience that didn't hear a word I said, but was just fascinated by my jewelry, and it was just like that, that kid could be like, wow, when I grow up, I want to make jewelry, or something like, there's certain things that appeal to different people, and you just never know how you're going to touch people, when talking to a large group of people, and especially kids. So they were they were very well behaved and very excited to see me.
Wonderful. Now, I want to ask you this because I'm sure some parents will be thinking exactly what I'm thinking. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I'm guided by what my agent wrote here. I would have probably said some of this stuff anyway and asked, but I think some of her points are very relevant, and we need to talk about it. Were any of the children afraid of you?
There have been kids who didn't want to take a picture with me. You know what I mean? They made because sometimes, well, and that's not necessarily being afraid. It's probably afraid of being left alone. So if you were to take a child and say, okay, go stand next to her and take the picture, but they really want to just be closer to their parent, so they just didn't want to take the picture. But there have been kids that have cried, and stuff, but not necessarily afraid, feared, like you were in fear of me,
Now, just a couple of more questions around this. Now, you obviously like this storybook hour. It's gotten you sort of the attention that you want. It's giving you a little bit of the status that you want, and it's sort of made you realize that children are the key to understanding us with diversity, understanding, and you start maybe something they would be able to relate to, because a lot of times, like I said, is they think we look like clowns, whether we're either a scary clown or a friendly looking clown. Now, I know that I can tell when I've listened to one or two of your stories, and I can tell that you have a passion inside you that's real. So this is what resonates with children, and it also resonates family, um, with some families. Now, of course, there's going to be that opposition of those families that are the Christian ones, like you said, that really doesn't, they just came to see who their children, what this drag queen is all about, and what their children are actually being exposed to. Now, have you ever had any real complaints from families or parents about you?
Well, we've had some protesters at some events, and that's to be expected. Um, we haven't had a situation where they have actually entered the building. They've just, showed up outside to say that they don't agree with the program, and that's fine. They have a right to say what they don't
Mhm.
agree with, but you keep in mind that all the kids that attend any drag queen story hour are accompanied by a caretaker or a parent or someone who wants them there. It's a lot different. I am not in the middle of a dark alley saying, hey kids, come here, I want to read you a story. I am in an open public setting, you know,
Mhm.
and these kids are with their parents and we're just reading books. So it's not like a secret situation where you can't come in, oh, you can come in, oh, not you, it's everyone is welcome as long as you're there with the right intentions.
Okay. Now, this will be the last one on this, because
Hmm.
I really, I'm enjoying this part, because I think that this is what my agent really wanted me to focus on. She was like, well, I want you to do this and I want you to do this and ask her this. So I'm going to ask you this. Are you happy with the results that you're seeing from all of the storybook hours that you're getting? Are you having an impact? Are you making a difference? Is it working? Is the storybook hour working?
I believe it is working, and I know that it's working because we started out this started in San Francisco and it came to New York, and now it is international. We have chapters in Germany and Japan and Mexico and Sweden, and all across the US. So there is a need for this, and there's a desire for this, and there's a purpose for this. And I am happy that we have a chance to help raise a new generation of open-minded individuals and people who are not afraid to express themselves. That's what this is all about. It cuts down on bullying people who are different, and it also creates role models, in a sense of the drag queens. Now we're held in a different light. A lot of people have always said, "Oh, why do you need drag queens? They perform for adults. They perform in nightlife and stuff." But it shows that we too can be adaptable to a different scenery as well, and that there are other interests that we have as performers, and that is to help others and to bridge two communities that would have never been together. Drag
Mm,
queens and kids.
mhm,
We teach them. It helps to improve reading. When get kids
mhm,
excited about reading, that's why we read to our kids stories, because we want them to be better readers. We want them to be more acquainted with reading. And that's why when we bring them to the library or a school or to a bookstore for drag queen story hour, it's the same story hour they would normally get. It's just with an added plus of having someone with a little bit more flair and style and flamboyancy.
mhm. Well, that's it. We know children like shiny things and colorful things, so
Hmm.
they can relate to a lot of this.
Hmm.
I think, in a sense of the colors and the shiny things, the excitement of it all.
Right.
Now, when you think about our community now that we're having so many civil unions and marriages, now is gay marriage legal in New Jersey and New York State?
Yes, and I am a wedding officiant, and I've done maybe 6 weddings at this point. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you know, and like they said before, back in the days, they didn't think gay men and women could raise children. And
Mm-hmm.
now we've come to this storybook hour. It just goes to show you how far we have progressed. And so, and mainly under that religious umbrella. And we know how usually people use religion against the gay community. And the fact that, you know what, I take my wig off to you, Harmonica, for just the fact that you are doing it. You're doing it. And for you to know that there's crazy people outside the door and you're there reading to children and there's this opposition outside, and the fact that you kept going without missing a beat, the fact that you know this is something you must do for just not for the gay community, but for people that are on the outside that might have a misunderstanding about us. For years, they thought that we were child molesters and pedophiles. And this stuff is not true. Of course, there's some knuckleheads in any group.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to just say, now you were doing some radio show the other day, or you have some big radio show that's coming up
No
on
radio shows,
BuzzFeed,
no. Hmm?
BuzzFeed.
Oh, I did a BuzzFeed video some time ago. That was in relation to a drag queen story hour as well, too. Yes.
Okay, so now you're doing virtual bingos.
I'm doing virtual everything pretty much. So virtual bingos and performances and hosting events as well. So yeah, it's been quite a transition to working from home, something that I thought I would never do as a drag
Mhm.
performer. And it has its, advantages and disadvantages, but I am just happy to still be, working, and that people still want to book me, especially at a time like this.
Well, you know, I want to just say you're doing great work, and don't don't put that torch out. Keep that torch. I watch you even when you're just as your other male pronoun
Hmm.
and walking around Jersey telling people to get off their ass and get motivated, get doing something. And I like that. I like the fact that you just keep putting the fire underneath them to keep them moving, because
Right.
mainly in this time most people are just laying in their house, they're going through depression. And you know, our community is very marginalized in the first place. And for us to go through something like this here just really sort of sets us back a little bit. But the fact that we have great performers like yourself that just keeps online, keeps entertaining, keeps bringing it, just keep bringing it. And this is
Hmm.
what my agent told me. She said, get off your ass and get on that thing there and get things out there, get this going. This is the only way we're going to get this going. Let the people know you care about them. Let them know that you're here, even if you're just drinking coffee and talking to them. Do something. So I understand the value of our voices.
Hmm.
Before, I didn't understand that. I do now. And
And
the fact,
I think also too, especially right now with what we're going through, people need that connection. There's so many people that are maybe in the house going through so much on their own, or don't feel like, like, okay, I don't feel safe going out, so it's great to be able to go live and just chit chat with people and have people check in, because you never know who needs that companionship. Even if the numbers on the live are not huge, it's not about, it's, for me, it's always been about quality, not quantity. And I know that when I go live, even if I'm just doing my makeup or just, chewing the fat and having some coffee, I know that there will be people that come on that I don't normally get a chance to talk to on social media. And so we wind up having that, a conversation that we would have never had if I didn't go live.
you know, that's the good thing about this. My agent, she told me, she says, Stephanie, slow and steady. And
Mhm.
I found she's right. Slow and steady. You don't need to be viral. You don't need a million hits. Just slow and steady.
Mhm. Well,
Now,
we
I,
all have a beginning, so nobody starts off, Paris Hilton didn't start off with 1 million followers. It's just, it took a while before people started to realize who she was. So yeah, we
mhm.
all start somewhere.
Okay, I'm going to lighten the mood for just a minute, and then we're going to wrap up shortly here because I know you're a busy woman. Now, I know Wendy Williams is from Jersey.
Yes.
And now, a few months ago, or even a year, it was almost about a year ago when they had the controversy with her about telling men to stop wearing.
Women's
What are
stuff.
your thoughts on that?
Well, I've had the pleasure or the opportunity to be a guest on her radio show years ago. She was a radio hostess on WBLS, and people would talk about me and my show in New York City, and and so she said she wanted to meet me, and she invited me onto the show to be a guest. And I came on and met with her, and then her career transitioned into TV, and I went to the show, and I was told by another friend of mine who lives in DC that they don't allow drag queens to go to the show. They don't let people to go and drag. And I thought that was very weird how, she says she's all for the LGBTQ community. And, you have all these people from our community that are on your team that help you look your best. And why would someone not be able to go and drag? Because in reality, my idea of drag is any time that we dress up more fabulous than what we normally do. Do you understand what I'm saying? So all
Mm-hmm.
those people in that show, in that audience, they're in drag because what they wore today is not what they would wear going to Walmart. It's not
Mm-hmm.
what they would wear lounging around the house. They all got dressed up, So you can't say like, oh, but you have a wig on. Okay, I can't be the only one in this audience with a wig on.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be the only one in here with a face full of makeup. I'm not the only one here with jewelry or nails on. So what are you getting at? I thought that she made a big mistake by saying that, and she turned a lot of people off. This is the thing, let people be who they want to be because it's not hurting you,
Mm-hmm.
you
Well,
know.
for me, I look at it this way. If the booking people or the production company or whoever is contacting your agent or contacting you, if they're hiring Harmonica Sunbeam, that's who we need to see.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
We want to see the woman that is getting all of the attention. We don't want Janet Jackson to come with no makeup on and no wig on and no stuff and looking like Janet Jackson. If we're hiring Harmonica Sunbeam, that's who we want to see. And it just in case that you're a drag queen, then that's what we want to see, that drag queen. So Wendy Williams is a very strange individual, and I've said this many times. And someday, she is just lucky that she is even on TV, and and the fact that she can just, anyway, she'll learn her lesson eventually. Now, in closing, I want to say, how do we get a hold of you if we want to book you?
Oh, okay. Well, you can always reach me on Instagram at hsunbeam or on Facebook under Harmonica Sunbeam or through my website, theharmonicasunbeam.com. Yes, theharmonicasunbeam.com.
Well, it was great, interesting talking to you and having your take on just a few issues. Um, Now, I just want to say it's my pleasure meeting you finally, and the fact that you're making a difference. And I like the fact that you understand what it is that you want from your career. And you understand the challenges for us as older individuals in the drag world, how we have to always be changing and stay relevant to keep working.
Mhm.
But yet, at the same time, use our voice to make sure that people respect us
Right.
and understand that we are to be respected and we have something of value to even offer to the little ones.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I want to just say thank you, Miss Harmonica Sunbeam. I know you're having a busy week. So what do you have coming up today?
I have a show I'm going to be doing. There's a fundraiser for a councilwoman, and I'm going to be performing in between speakers today. So that's a little bit later on uh, today, but I'm also I'm decluttering.
Oh,
So
okay.
I have like 3 boxes of donations that I need to like organize and get ready because they're picking them up in the morning. So I'm like, okay, once I pull all this stuff out, I want it to go. It can't, be pulled out and then stay here for 2 weeks. It's got to go the next day. So they're coming to pick it up tomorrow. So I'm happy for that. So it'll create, some more space in here for me. And yeah, I'm just getting ready for a very peaceful Christmas week.
Mhm. Well, I just want to say this to you. Um, I always say this to a lot of my friends at this time. I just hope everybody's reaching out to everybody during Christmas time. It's the most difficult time for our community because a lot of us don't have family and we're lonely. A lot of us need food. So that extra food that we have, we should be sharing with our neighbors and our friends and just reaching out just to see if people need a bag of groceries or just need a conversation.
Mhm.
And I know you're good for those kind of things because I watch a lot of your stuff and you're very good for charity. And we want to say thank you. Also, I want to just wish you Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, Miss Sunbeam. It was a great time talking to you today. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and I appreciate it.
And we will chat again soon.
All righty. Happy holidays.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.